Hello, everyone. Welcome to another webinar. I am Anushka, part of the field marketing team at Sprinto, and we have an exciting webinar happening today. It's on the state of security for 2026, how compliance and pen testing can go together. We have two amazing speakers with us. One is Vipul and one Swati. Can you both just quickly wave a hi to the audience?
Hi.
Amazing, amazing. Before moving to the agenda, some quick tips. We are going to roll out polls throughout the session, so make sure you're engaging with them. We will also be recording this session, so in case you might be dropping out in between, you'll surely get a recording from our end. And yeah, I think nothing else from my end. Vipul, can you just quickly do a short intro about yourself, followed by Swati?
Sure. Thanks, Anushka. So, hi everyone. I am Vipul, and I work closely with a lot of customers who are going for their first time journey into compliance, as well as a lot of enterprises who have been in this space. And I work very closely with information security leaders as well as CISOs and help them get compliance easy.
Amazing. Swati, what about you?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anushka and Vipul. My name is Swati. I am VP Global Sales at Astra Security. I have over a decade of experience building and scaling global GTM teams in about, high growth SaaS companies. At Astra, I work closely with security leaders across enterprises to help them move from periodic checklist driven security to continuous attacker driven testing, especially across modern attack surfaces like API, AI application. I'm very excited to be sharing practical insights on how security teams can keep pace with the speed of modern development.
Thank you so much, Swati. That was amazing. Now, moving on to the agenda, Vipul, can you change the slide? Awesome. So, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about why periodic audits and annual pen tests no longer suffice, how to unify pen testing insights with compliance, building real time visibility into controls and vulnerabilities, what continuous assurance look like in practice, and what's next, AI security testing and compliance mapping for 2026. Also, there's a Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to drop them in the Q&A tab and we will definitely pick it up towards the end of the session. Yeah, that's about it. Have an amazing session, guys. Looking forward to it.
Great, great. Thanks, Anushka. I think before we head into a lot of nitty-gritties that we have in store for you from the experience that we, combinedly have Sprinter and Astra together in this cybersecurity space, let me start with a simple truth. Uh, Security is still moving slower than engineering, and that's a hard fact. Teams are shipping faster than ever. New APIs, cloud changes, AI features, but most or still rely on point in time testing and annual audits. And attackers don't wait for your next audit window. So today we'll talk about how modern teams are moving from periodic security to continuous security with centralized visibility, automated workflows, real metrics that actually drive action, and with AI being an our ally in the entire tool building space as well. On that note, I would like to welcome everyone. Great to have you here. Um, I think we can get started now. Okay. So I think this slide speaks volume. It kind of, gives me a lot of pride and around, what Astra Security is doing, what kind of impact we brought in 2025, almost just doubling, tripling what we saw in 2024. So we, sort of saved 500 million plus dollars in potential losses just by providing continuous security, by timely audits, by timely pen testing with a lot of products that we have in space. We actually helped uncover 5 million plus vulnerabilities across our customer portfolio. We also contributed a lot towards AI research that we're going to talk about later. And all of this happened, with 200,000 plus scans and pen tests that we executed. One of the few things that, kind of the engineering team at Astra is really bringing at the forefront is innovation. lot of innovation with respect to AI. And also, we launched most of our products, I would say, last year, with being, among the top three launchers of SaaS cybersecurity products on Product Hunt as well. We launched API security and kind of, was blown out of proportion there. So very excited, very proud to share these stats with you. Uh, we can go on to the next slide. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Swati. That was really wonderful in terms of outlook on where we are heading at. I also wanted to emphasize if we talk about today, compliance is no longer a back office function, it's a business requirement, right? And it directly gates enterprise deals and demands ongoing accountability as well, not just from the sales team or the business teams, but also from teams who are more in the supporting roles, right? We talk about solutions team, customer experience, and a lot of times we see information security teams as well. What's really changed is the regulatory mindset, right? There are newer regulations that are coming in. If we talk about specific regions, like in India, there is TPDP. In EU, there is Cyber Resilience Act, and then there are numerous acts and compliances that are coming up on AI as well, right? So these are no longer satisfied with policies and annual attestations. These enterprise customers now expect ongoing risk validation, proof that safeguards are actually working in real environments. If you talk about 10 years back, you wouldn't have a lot of audits coming in, right? You wouldn't expect that any of your customers would be coming for an audit at your premises. That's why expectations have shifted towards regular vulnerability assessments, continuous monitoring, and security by design. Security can't be something you validate once a year anymore. It has now become more continuous, and the broader trend is very clear. Compliance is going to evolve from paperwork to proof. And that shift is also forcing both security and compliance teams to rethink how assurance is delivered, right? That's what we are seeing a lot when we speak with the customers who are coming to Sprinto as well as Astra Security. Now, when we talk about we are moving from paper-based to proof, the compliance fatigue and the state of security is as follows. One of the biggest challenges organizations face today is compliance fatigue. Teams are always hunting for separate vendors for audits, pen testing, monitoring, and reporting. So, if you have been in this function of information security or GRC in general, you would understand that you would be working with a lot of vendors. On an average, we see organizations which are between 500 or more than 500 employees, they would be working with 10 different vendors, and that fragmentation creates delays and confusion. Pen test reports live in PDFs, compliance controls live elsewhere, and then there's no shared context between any of those. And because of that, executives lack real time visibility into risks between audits. Security teams may know issues exist, but leadership can't clearly answer where do we actually stand today. So if I were to ask you, where do you stand today from a GRC program perspective or how compliant you are, it will be very difficult for you to answer. You would always go back and reference that, yes, we have completed so and so audits on so and so dates. But if I ask you, where are you today, it would be very difficult to provide an accurate answer to that. And the result here is high friction and ultimately high stress, high cost, and low confidence with your customers. As we look at the state of security moving into 2026, it's clear that disconnected insights and point in time validations are no longer sustainable. And that's where we bring the brains and muscles together as well. I'll let Swati, continue from here. I would love to hear your thoughts in terms of uh, where the drift is.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think, honestly, what I am seeing after talking to so many security teams, so many engineering teams, day in and day out, getting into the trenches, talking to mid layer, senior layer, executive layer. I think fundamentally my thought process and our collective learning at Astra Security is that for decades pen testing has largely stayed the same. It's like high effort, slow cycle, manual reporting, and limited scale. but that's changing fast. Like, especially, with AI is now making what was previously impossible possible. Things like detecting business logic vulnerabilities, dynamic threat modeling, generating high quality proof of concept automatically, and sort of even creating reports at speed. And we are seeing massive capital flowing into the space through VCs, and it's kind of, there are a lot of investment going on around this, because the world finally understands how critical and undeserved pen testing really is. At the same time, what you talked about, GRC, security compliance is becoming non-negotiable. Like, we are seeing new regulations come up across geographies, like DPDP in India, and stronger requirements even for MSMEs to run human driven pen tests. So I believe GRC is no longer a niche function. It's becoming a mainstream role inside modern organization. And if we put this together, these are powerful tailwinds, like AI expanding what pen testing can do, and compliance is expanding how much pen testing is required. So I think AI is about to completely revolutionize pen testing, from that sense, to what you see, point in time audits to now becoming continuous motion. And how do we keep up with ever expanding attack surface, with lot of AI integration, not just at a level where it used to be long back, but now it's just becoming a digital fabric of the softwares that we have today. So I think continuous testing is the only real way to stay ahead of attackers. But until now, it hasn't been practical. The old way was, like I said, point in time pen test and sporadic scans, heavily dependent on pen tester mood, fatigue, skill set, and was limited by time, and always playing catch up. So security, adherently, has always been a catch up game, because technology will evolve, it will revolutionize, but how does security catch up with that? That's the name of the game. So it's like fast changing code, APIs, environments, and a lot of infra, a lot of like leakage happening with these AI model adoption, without kind of considering what kind of secure ways to incorporate these AI workflows. I think it's always going to be a game of catch up, but how soon and how fast you catch up, that's going to dictate that's. So I believe, fundamentally, I believe the biggest security risk isn't the audit itself, it's what happens after it. And that's exactly what you're seeing on screen. The moment an audit is complete, the environment starts changing. A new API is deployed, cloud configurations get updated, libraries change, and suddenly the secure snapshot you validated begins to drift. So audit happens once a year, but attack happens every day, and that widening gap is what we call control drift. That's exactly why security can't be periodic anymore. It needs to be continuous and aligned to how fast engineering actually ships. It's now shipping 3x the code, with this wipe coding coming into the picture, low code, no code tools coming into the picture, AI assisted coding coming into the picture. And to make that work at scale, workflow automation becomes critical. Centralized visibility becomes critical. Clear matrix becomes critical. Actionable next step that team can actually execute on, and doesn't become a blocker for engineering team. And there's a delay of 10-15 days instead of just static report. That also goes stale. So that's what we are seeing happening, to be honest.
Great to hear that, Swati. I think this gives us a good start. And I think we also have a poll. So I would just request all the participants to go ahead and share their views.
It's a very interesting question. How confident? Do you mind if I read it out?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. How confident are you that your security and compliance posture stays accurate between audits? Very interesting question. And how is pen testing handled in your organization today? Third one is, are your pen test findings directly mapped to compliance control today? Oh, there are more. Would you be interested in a free compliance and security posture assessment tailored to your environment? I would say yes. Go for it. What's your top priority for security and compliance in 2026? Amazing. Great. Nice to know. Great, people. I think, shall we continue?
Yep, Swati, go ahead. I think we do have the results.
Amazing, amazing. So I think, again, you'll see me talking a lot about AI because that is what I am also hearing, and I am also seeing day in and day out. And I would just say, kind of, uh, with this slide, let me just take a step back and paint the bigger picture. A few years ago, when we talked about AI applications, Vipul, and you would agree with me, you've been in this space for quite some time, being a developer, being an engineer, being a solution engineer. I think we meant a few specialized tools, like, maybe a chatbot here, maybe a recommendation engine there. Fast forward to today, what the data is telling us is very different. I was reading this, PitchBook report for 2026, just that got released last month, and broader industry forecast. They say that by 2030, almost every digital product we interact with will be AI powered or AI enhanced, not as a feature but as a core layer. Like the foundational models alone are expected to drive uh, 160, like almost 136 billion plus upwards market. So it is massive growth across agentic systems, autonomous workflows, AI infrastructure, and that's why you see a lot of money flowing in. And here is the important part: this doesn't mean that we have a neat list of AI apps. It means that AI will be embedded everywhere, inside CRMs, ERPs, SaaS platform, developer tools, compliance workflows, and even internal systems that were never designed with AI risk in mind. So that's where things start to break. When AI becomes the fabric of software, the attack surface expands invisibly. um, like logic replaces code paths, decisions replace workflows, and small misconfiguration here, like an exposed AI endpoint or an over permissive agent, can quietly turn data leaks and compliance violation, and can quietly turn into any of these, like runaway cost. So we have already seen that happening in 2025. AI system leaking data without user interaction. We were working with a lot of companies, where AI agent being manipulated through hidden inputs, AI backend exposed publicly through, because they were never just internal services. Now none of these show up in traditional security models, and they can never be caught through these traditional SAST or DAS scanners. And none of them wait for the next annual audit. So when we say by 2030 almost all digital will be AI, what we really saying is basically security and compliance can no longer be point in time in the world. That changes continuously. I think that is where the conversation is also shifting from one of pen test to continuous assurance and continuous pen testing, especially across web, APIs, cloud, and AI systems. Yeah.
Yeah. And Swati, I mean, I was just curious from your on-ground experience in the last few years, I would say just 2024 and 2025, when we see a lot of AI being innovated, what new types of vulnerabilities are actually getting exploited today?
I think that's a very interesting question. Just we just wrapped up our 2025 report, and what I noticed, like what we are seeing on the ground in 2025, the nature of exploitation has fundamentally changed. Like attackers are no longer just looking for broken code; they're exploiting how modern system behave, reason, and automate decisions. Like I can think of two, like very good examples, and that you would agree with me. Like one of the most impactful incident that happened this year, like 2025, was the React to Shell vulnerability. It was a critical remote code execution flaw in React server component that allow attackers to achieve full server side code execution with a single crafted request, like no authentication required. So what made this dangerous wasn't just severity, but reach. And I remember that it even ranked, kind of, it actually earned the 10 CVSS score. So React and Next.js power a massive portion of the modern web, right? But we saw active exploitation almost immediately, like crypto miners, backdoors, enrollment. And this wasn't a niche bug, but it was a reminder that framework level vulnerabilities now carry platform level blast radius. And another thing, I was just kind of talking to one of my security engineer, And he talked about that there was this client that we were working with, wherein the case study was of a publicly exposed AI LLM API. So for example, during the security assessment, we identified that an application's AI LLM backend API was publicly accessible without any authentication or authorization. The API was intended to be used only by the official browser extension, but due to missing security controls, it became open to anyone on the internet. And what we discovered, that AI endpoint could be accessed without login, API keys, or tokens. So requests from any external website were allowed, and no restrictions were in place to verify who was using the AI service. Now, if I have to translate that into business impact, just try and imagine with me the financial impact. An open AI API allows anyone to send unlimited requests, which can quickly increase AI usage and lead to unexpectedly high cloud and API costs. It can lead to abuse and misuse. Like attackers can exploit the AI service to generate arbitrary content, automate spam or misuse the system without being detected. It could also lead to a broad damage around brand and trust. Like publicly exposed AI functionality can raise red flags during audits, reduce customer confidence, and then also it can reflect very poorly on a certain company's security posture, like weak security controls around AI systems. And then we were able to help them share fixes around remediation, like what they need to do in such cases. Like they need to require API keys, token, session based authentication. They can allow requests from only and only from trusted applications and domains, and so on and so forth. So the idea is that with this ever expanding surface, these attacks don't show up in your traditional DAST or SAST. They exploit decision logic. They kind of exploit autonomy. So, and once AI systems are integrated in your workflow, they become part of the attack surface, just like API or microservices. So from a mitigation standpoint, patching is still a stable stakes, but it's not enough. Like team needs to be doing continuous pen testing and adversarial testing, so to say, especially tailored to AI logic, permission boundaries, and real world usage patterns. That's what we have seen at Astra.
Perfect. That's great to know. I mean, it's quite interesting because if you would have asked me, let's say, a couple of months back, from a compliance standpoint, has AI made it easier? I would have said, oh yes, AI has made it easier for the compliance folks, anyone who is working in the GRC space from an operations perspective. But what we tend to overlook is the kind of things that AI has evolved into. Because if we specifically talk from a risk perspective, it is very difficult now to even scope out risk, right? If someone comes to me and asks me, Vipul, can you help me or can you consult me in terms of what would be some of the risk with respect to AIs or use of LLMs or platforms like ChatGPT and OpenAI, it is very difficult to scope because we are still experimenting with these tools which are quite new to us, and we do not even know what kind of exploits could be present there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And kind of one thing that just got stuck into my head after going through the entire report and talking to these customers, I think it makes them really vulnerable with respect to the business, with respect to the revenue element involved. And especially these attacks, they are like ever evolving, especially around model misuse, prompt injection, data leakage. And I think this is ever expanding space. It continuous monitoring, validation, management, pen testing is the need of the hour.
Yep. Right. And team, on the same note, I just wanted to uh, announce another poll or a quiz. I think maybe Swati, this time I can go ahead and read the question. So, how is pen testing handled in your organization today? The choices are annual or point in time, after major releases, continuous ongoing testing, and we do not even run pen tests regularly. I hope we do not get any responses for we don't run pen tests regularly.
I'll die if that is the case.
Okay. Yeah, we are saved.
We're safe.
Perfect.
Glad I'm alive.
Team, I just wanted to quickly introduce this is where the model starts to change. This is where Sprinto acts as the brain of the compliance program, continuously monitoring controls and managing the compliance journey. And on the same hand, Astra acts as a muscle, continuously validating whether those controls hold up against real world attacks or not. Right? What's important is how both these teams are going to work together. So all the security related findings, all the vulnerabilities from Astra are directly mapped to compliance controls inside Sprinto, right? So going back to a few slides where we discussed that there are so many vendors, so many different applications that GRC teams work with, it becomes very difficult to work on from an operations perspective, as well as at the time of audit, you are just rushing around and trying to look for evidences. So that means with Sprinto and Astra, vulnerabilities are no longer isolated technical issues, right? They are tied to compliance with the impact and are prioritized accordingly because you have visibility both from a controls perspective and also from the technical perspective. For leadership teams, this actually enables a real-time answer to a critical question. Are we secure and compliant today? Because these two always go hand in hand, right? Security and compliance. And this is the foundation of continuous assurance. Swati, any thoughts that you would like to share with us?
I think you have summed it up beautifully. It needs to go hand in hand, and that's the power of continuous assurance. And that's what we want to bring to our audience today and to the audience beyond this webinar as well. That how Sprinter and Astra are coming together with continuous security, continuous compliance. And I'm pretty much kind of, we can move on to the next slide.
Perfect. All right. So we all know compliance mandates are catching up to reality. 20 years back, no one would actually care, right, if you are compliant or not. But as we have grown, as we have developed, what we are seeing globally is that mandates are catching up to how actually behave, right? Earlier, it was just implementation of controls that these are the standards. We implement them based on these standards, whichever controls are applicable. You just map them, implement them, and you are done. Now, if we look at from today's perspective, data protection and privacy laws are increasingly pushing for ongoing risk validation, right? Not annual checks. So it won't be a point in time check. These are growing expectations around vulnerability assessments, penetration testing, and continuous monitoring. And we see these across regions and ecosystems, right? It is not just limited to, let's say, the US or North American region, but it is now observed across Europe and other regions in Asia Pacific as well. We see this across regions and ecosystems. And one quick example, very recently in India, DPDP emphasizes accountability and safeguards. It was missing. So if we compare it to US or GDPR for EU, there was no law in India. But again, same efforts are being made globally. And enterprises who are global in nature, who have to now incorporate all other laws across regions, they increasingly require pen tests from MSME vendors as well, right? The EU Data Act and Cyber Resilience Act also focus on security by design and ongoing assurance, right? The key there is ongoing assurance. And the common theme across all of these is simple. Regulators and customers want proof. You won't get away with just promises.
Absolutely. I think one of the point that you have added in this slide is around enterprise procurement. All the salespeople in the world, all the GTM leaders in the world will hard relate to this point. When your deal gets stuck in procurement, nothing hurts more than that. Like I have had sleepless nights, just wishing the next day I wake up, or maybe just in between in my dreams I used to think, okay, now finally the procurement has given a tick mark and now the deal has moved into the next stage. I think it's very much required for companies to understand the importance of it and maintain a continuous security posture, and especially with these mandates coming into the picture, it requires proof of continuous pen testing from vendors. So I think business calls for business, as simple as that. Amazing. Great. I'm very proud and happy to be talking about at Astra what we think about continuous security validation and making security continuous and at scale. Uh, when we started off, we started off with a very simple mindset of doing pen test, pen test as a service. But then eventually, as we worked with a lot of customers across industries, we realized that it cannot be just one time process. It cannot be just quarterly process. It cannot be just biannual process. So at Astra, we eventually started, focusing a lot on innovation, and we started evolving as the times were evolving, as the attack surface was evolving, and as the need of the security leaders, engineering leaders, GRC leaders was evolving. It was more around having a centralized visibility. Data should not be sitting in silos. They should be able to correlate the findings, because real attack, it doesn't happen as if, I see your web app, I'm going to attack your web app. The way it happens is, you have access to your cloud, they have access to your app, they have access to your API, and then they chain these vulnerabilities together and form an attack path. With that thought in mind, Astra Security, our goal was very simple: make security continuous and truly scalable. Instead of treating security as a one-time audit, we bring everything, under one Astra Security vulnerability management and detection platform, from PTAS to continuous pen testing to DAS to API to cloud to building your inventory by observing and discovering your loose endpoint, shadowing, surfacing your shadows, zombie orphan APIs. We cover everything, like, be it cloud misconfiguration, be it mobile SaaS. And I'm very proud to be talking about, with, I've been saying AI. With in Astra, I think it sits at the very center of our core tech stack, especially when we are working around, this huge innovation around autonomous pen testing, like combining human grade depth, given the expertise that we have, and it is very unique to us in terms of, being in this space for more than decade, with machine speed execution. So whether your challenge is speed, scale, or coverage, I think Astra helps you stay secure as you ship faster. And especially with this new approach, that I'm talking about, anonymous pen testing, it beautifully uses AI driven dynamic threat modeling to plan an attack strategy, begin hacking as if the real hacking happens, and adapt in real time based on what it discovers. It just doesn't detect vulnerabilities and exploits and validates them too. Usually, what used to happen with these scanners, they have a huge limitation of drowning teams in false positive. That exactly what Astra Security autonomous pen testing vision is helping solve. Like, it will be able to, kind of uncover business logic vulnerabilities. It will be contextually aware of your application, and it will be able to give you true confidence score and true positive. So that's the vision that we have, and that's how we see security at Astra.
Great to hear that, Swati. And I am completely able to resonate with what you have just mentioned. And similarly, on the similar lines, right? Since you were speaking more from a vulnerability and technical standpoint, and to be able to have continuous assurance, compliance also needs an engine built for it, right? Similar to what you spoke about, compliance also needs a similar kind of setup. And that's starts with always on control monitoring. Here, we are not talking about vulnerabilities and threats, but we are talking about controls, which is going to encapsulate all other pieces, right? Your people, process, and technology, everything has to be monitored continuously. And observing the tech stack to detect misconfigurations as they happen, just like you mentioned, it also requires unified framework mapping, right? Mapping controls once and reusing them across frameworks like SOC 2, ISO, and many more, right? A lot of times we see teams struggling or having, let's say, distributed teams. Maybe one particular team is working on SOC 2, other would be working on ISO 27K1, and so on, right? So it also helps them streamline and reusing controls across different frameworks. And most importantly, it means being always audit ready. Evidence is continuously collected, so teams aren't scrambling when the audits arrive. GRC teams can definitely relate, or someone who has owned a particular audit, they would know that at the time of audits, there are always some surprises. In cases a particular team member was not present, there were some misconfigurations in, let's say, the database and so on, right? And this shifts compliance from a periodic event into a steady operating system itself.
Absolutely, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. Great. We have another poll. I love these polls. How confident are you that your security and compliance posture stays accurate between audits? Amazing. Nice.
Perfect. And talking about it, critical part of this model is maintaining integrity and trust. And that's what Sprinto and Astra bring together, right? So Sprinto will be able to manage the compliance journey, while Astra operates as an independent third party delivering vulnerability assessments and penetration testing. This separation is intentional, it ensures no bias. Although the teams are going to be collaborating, but there won't be any bias, which produce a credible audit-ready reports and builds trust with auditors, customers, and even regulators. Right? Security validation remains independent, while compliance orchestration remains structured and automated. Together, Sprinto, Astra are both going to reinforce confidence instead of compromising it.
Absolutely. I think that's the whole objective also here, especially with respect to, compliance becomes painful when it turns into vendor management, multiple tools, multiple invoices, long vetting cycles, and still no clear finish line. Exactly that we are trying to enable here is much simpler path. One integrated motion where your company works with Sprinter and Astra to get compliance done end to end. Fewer, just one vendor to manage, I would say, one streamlined workflow, faster timelines, and ultimately faster deal closure that all of us want, because you can prove security and compliance without chaos.
Yeah. Right. And I think after this heavy discussion or a lot of thoughts that have been shared by both of us, everyone would want to understand what continuous compliance would look like, right? Or in real life. So when continuous compliance is working well, a few things become very clear. So controls are monitored continuously. That's one that's pretty obvious as well. Uh, Another part to it is vulnerabilities are directly linked to your impact. When I say impact, these are directly going to be your linked to your risks, right? And audits and board reviews come with fewer surprises. There won't be any surprises that there were some gaps, let's say in the vulnerability assessment or any other area, right? And AI also plays a role here, enabling automatic control mapping, early drift detection, and smarter risk prioritization as well, right? As organizations grow, the number of risks also grow, and it becomes very difficult for the GRC teams to prioritize risks. So that's where AI is going to play a big role. And also for leadership, this actually translates into executive level visibility and confidence as well. For teams, it means less firefighting and more focus on real risk. That's what continuous compliance looks like in practice, based on what I have experienced with a lot of customers who have onboarded with us.
Vipul, this just, kind of what you said, just, kind of, I'm thinking out loud with you. Like like if continuous assurance is working well, what feels different for a, CISO or a compliance leader?
Yep. So it is okay. If I have to put it there, it is not going to be limited to a compliance leader or CISO, but it is going to reflect at each and every level. And the biggest difference is going to be the confidence, right? You being a seller, imagine if there is continuous assurance and you come up with a new requirement with newer controls, you would be confident that almost 50 to 60% of these controls would have already been implemented. Or if one of your customers come and they ask you that we want to conduct an audit, a third party audit, you won't be scared of anything because you know that you have implemented continuous compliance. So there won't be any surprises that come out.
Mm, great. I think uh, Anushka just posted that she's gonna start with Q&A session. I think we can just move on to the next slide. I think pretty much self-explanatory what we talked about. Vendor sprawl, cost sprawl, consolidating everything in one vendor, one invoice, fastest path to compliance. Um, I think this pretty much speaks volume, and then we can eventually be making big money, closing deals faster.
Yep.
Amazing. Yeah, Anushka, please go ahead. Thank you.
Hello, hello. Can you guys see me?
Yeah,
Amazing. So we have a couple of questions lined up. I'll just quickly speak out one or two, and then maybe we can take the other ones offline. So, one of them is asking, how does continuous assurance reduce business risk and deal friction? Can maybe Vipul or Swati, can you guys take it up?
Yep. So
Amazing.
thanks, Anushka, for the question. When we talk about de-risking continuous compliance, I think this brings back to the question that Swati asked me, right? It resonates exactly with the same question because when you have continuous compliance and continuous assurance baked into your GRC program, then you don't have to worry about any audits or any new compliance frameworks that come into the picture. Maybe now there is an organization which is operating, let's say, in the US market. Maybe in the next few months, the sales team wants to expand and they want to start selling in the European market, right? So whatever compliances are applicable, not to the whole region of EU, but let's say country level compliance frameworks, right? Anything new that comes up, so the team is not going to be worried because they know that most of the controls would already be implemented, and whatever pieces new comes up, they are also going to be incorporated in future, right? Apart from this, audits are also very smooth because now you are not worried that what's going to come as part of the audit, because you are not doing audit, let's say, on a set frequency, not doing it, let's say, bi-yearly or once a year. You are doing it continuously. Maybe if you ask me today what is the status from a controls perspective, you'll be able to get real-time visibility into it.
absolutely. I think you should be always audit ready, always on control monitoring, and I think that's the name of the game.
We have another question lined up. Someone's asking, how does continuous pen testing work without disrupting engineering velocity? I think Swati, you'll be the right person for it.
Whosoever asked this question, thank you so much. And kind of, this is one of my favorite question, and one of the important thing that we kept in mind while putting together this Astra security platform, not just for security leaders to have centralized visibility, but also to reduce engineering friction. So the whole idea is that ongoing vulnerability management, detection, fixing doesn't have to be working in silos, because then it again involves a lot of friction around team taking their own sweet time to fix things. There are a lot of delays, there is a lot of to and fro movement that is going on. One vendor is surfacing the vulnerability, then you're taking those items through PDF Excel to the engineering team, then they are taking their time, they are fixing some part of it, then you're again going back to your vendor, they are doing the rescanning part, and there's a lot of to and fro, there's a lot of coordination, there is a lot of stress, there are a lot of sleepless nights involved in this, and eventually the auditors are standing on top of your head on that day. So what we do basically, we put in a lot of effort in terms of workflow automation. The idea is that you should be the platform should simply be able to surface vulnerability, and your engineering in real time must be able to see and fix those vulnerabilities without you having to do so much coordination around it, and actually be focusing on other important priorities at a company level. So yeah, so that's the idea. The platform should have solid integrations in place, like CI/CD integration. As soon as there is a code commit, in staging, in ideally in staging, there should be, simply they can we can the Astra platform can simply plug into your CI/CD tech stack, your project management workflow, your Jira two-way integration, your Slack, if that is a communication tool that you're using, or Teams, and it can help ease engineering. It can help do shift left and also help engineering velocity.
Great. Thank you so much, Swati. I think, yep, with this, we come to the end of the session. Thank you, Vipul. Thank you, Swati. It was an amazing session. I think I personally learned a lot as well about both Sprinter and Astra and the combined partnership together. Uh, yeah, thank you so much. And thank you, folks, for joining in. I see we have gotten a lot of attendees as well. So we'll definitely send out this presentation that was shared during the webinar along with the recording. And yeah, hope to see. I think we do have another question. Ah, okay. That was Vipul only. All right. Yep. So we'll see you in the next one. And yep, hope you guys had a great time. Thank you for joining in. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think Vipul has educated me enough, and I hope I have done the same that we can now sell each other's platform.
Right.
Perfect.
Amazing, guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Take care, one.
Take care. Good night.